What's up, guys? It's Dominique, aka That Therapist. For those of you that don't know me, I am the lead clinician and CEO for a group practice known as Yellow Bird Counseling. Well, what does that do? What do y'all do there? Well, our normal day-to-day operations consist of providing individual, group, family, couples, therapy and or counseling in the states of Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, New Jersey, and Idaho. Soon, many more states to come. Hopefully by the end of this year, no later than the beginning of next year. Soon, way more states to come. Well, what do we do here on Thursday evenings? Well, every Thursday evening, or most every Thursday evening, at around 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, we discuss topics that the general population can relate to and tie it back to how we can all get from having a therapist outside of having a mental illness, because that's one of the biggest myths, is that people think you have to have something quote unquote wrong with you to see a therapist when that's just not the case. You just have to be a human having a human experience. We all have those, thus we all could use therapy. I have my own therapist. Y'all know about that. So we're going to be doing that this month. And attachment came up, relationship stuff came up. So I wanted us to continue to expand on that. Myself, as well as other therapists in the practice, we see a theme with clients as far as discussing relational dynamics, sexuality. That's something that we discuss pretty often and openly here at Yellowbird. So that's just what we do. So tonight is no different. And y'all know I have a slew of knowledge in the Yellowbird Nation among the other ambassadors in the Yellowbird Nation. So tonight I thought that we would get into some of the romance stuff. All right, that be bugging y'all, and that y'all may understanding. Okay, I feel like there's a misunderstanding in this area, so I want to help bring awareness. So I have to expand outside of my own knowledge and ask my ambassadors. So that's what we're doing this evening. So without further ado, let me bring them on.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi there.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. Tell the people who you are. This might only be their, I think this is only their second or third time. This might be their third time.
Second. Just the second.
You
can give me extra credit, but it's literally...
Oh, maybe it was no, okay, I guess that was the same thing. Well, for the second time.
Hi, I am Kristen Graham. I am an LPC whose one of my specialties is working with people who are either ironically or romantically marginalized in some way. So people who are kinky, people who are queer, and as we're talking about tonight, people who do not fit within the traditional monogamous romantic structure. So I work with all kinds of people, but this is one of my favorites. So
Yup. So we let Kristen do that. Kristen does do individual and couples therapy. Mm-hmm. So definitely keep that in mind as you're listening. If you're looking, and please share this live, because I'm telling you, a coworker needed, a sister, a brother, a auntie, a mama, a daddy, somebody needed. So please do your part with us to break the stigma that surrounds mental health and wellness, and brings awareness to a very I don't want to say a hot topic, but something that's more so coming up more socially. Mm-hmm. I do to share because people are having their myths that they're starting to develop around monogamy versus ethical non-monogamy and how you should think and feel and all that. So this is not good, just good for you watching. This is good for everybody in your life. So if you could share this, if you could click the more options and share the link in your text or in your DMs, it'd be great. So you can help us break the stigma that surrounds mental health and wellness and bring education to different romantic identities. So do that for us as you listen and enjoy. And we're gonna go keep moving. So, yeah, let's talk about it. What it came up a lot. I know it came up in our therapist group chat, and I know it's we're starting to get more clients who identify as non-monogamous. I know it's not new for me because I already had clients who identified as polyamorous. So, but I realize in the general public it is fairly new
Yeah,
way.
it's gotten to be a lot more. I don't know that I'd say common, but it is becoming a lot more widely known as a relationship option for people.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Mm-hmm.
the estimates right now are that about 4% of the population are who are in relationships are in some form of an open relationship at any given time. Um, and I want to say it's at least 12% who have had an experience with this type of relationship. Um, the most important thing to, I guess, start with is so there are almost as many relationship configurations out there as there are people in non-monogamous relationships. So when I generally try to lean more towards talking about either ethical non-monogamy or consensual non-monogamy is what the two like umbrella terms. That is to distinguish it from cheating. You know, this is not about stepping out on your partner. This is about designing a relationship structure that allows you to have more than one connection, be it sexual, romantic, practical kind of thing. It's just, and you know, I can go off and just start listing. There's anything from polyamory, polyfidelity, which is when you've got people, you know, polyamory is multiple loves. So you would have a relationship with, you know, a romantic attachment with more than one person. Polyfidelity focuses on something akin to monogamy, but there's just more than one person. So with polyfidelity, you have like maybe 3 people. They've all agreed that they're going to be the only ones in that relationship. You have people who are swingers, which is more generally more about sexual connections than romantic connections. You've got people who are kind of monogamish. They're mostly monogamous, but then they have like what they call a hall pass. So many different ways of approaching it. And I want to just kind of emphasize that I work with all of them. I do not like, it's not just polyamory. And my focus is trying to help people both deal with the things that come up in their open relationships, but also understand that that is not necessarily the problem or even a problem. If I've got somebody coming in to see me with mental health issues, I am not going to make the assumption that the problem is their open relationship. And that is something I see an unfortunate amount of times. And I've had clients tell me like, yeah, my last therapist said that I just needed to stop seeing my partners. I'm going to start from the place of what are you coming to me with? Is it, you know, is this a problem for you, or is it a source of support, and is it a protective factor for your mental health? So
Yeah, and I think that's where a lot of therapists that are not in a marginalized community or minority community, they fall short. They automatically assume, and that's where we, you know, we'll get into implicit biases in in another life. But that's one to assess, like, are you just jumping to that because it's new for you without even considering, is it actually an issue for the client? Or is it actually, like you said, or is it actually a concern?
Right.
So yeah. Yeah.
I tell all of my clients, I'm not in the business of creating problems for you that you don't have. I'm sure you've got
Right.
enough problems on your own. I don't need to make something that you enjoy into a problem.
Right.
Speaking of identity, because you kind of brought it up, I generally like to make people aware of some of my intersectional identities. So I identify as polyamorous, pansexual, genderqueer, demisexual, and I think those are the kind of the main. So I personally also practice a form of ethical non-monogamy.
Yes.
Been that way
Yes.
for a good 10 years.
And that's good, because you need somebody who, I think the best experience with therapy, like, is somebody who has had their own personal life experiences with the populations that they work with.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's I mean, I don't think a person has to do or experience everything in order to have any sort of competency in it, but it's a lot easier if I can look at somebody who, for example, jealousy is the one that everybody like first wants to talk about. The number of times I've heard, "Oh, I can't do that because I would get jealous," or I don't think that I'm actually truly non-monogamous because I have jealousy. And I'm like, y'all, I get jealous. I am not immune to jealousy. It is not a matter of like not having jealousy, not having um, struggles. It's like, I have feelings like every other human, and I have to
Yep.
deal with them. Um,
Yep.
I'm looking at the comments. What is a poly V? Okay. So
Okay.
that is.
Wait. I think, hold on, because I know some of these people, um, because we are going to keep that. We're going to pin that. But let's
Okay.
start a little bit more basic, just for people that are like, well, and they make their
What is this? Okay.
right, yeah, their social construct in their mind might already have them half listening. So let's distinguish the difference between, like you said, the different, like, let's start with monogamy and then move out of that. Just with the
Monogamy,
definitions.
as it is traditionally understood, monogamy is an agreement to romantic and sexual fidelity between a dyad. Basically, two people get together and say, I'm not going to have sex with anybody else, and I'm not going to do romantic stuff with anybody else besides you. You're my partner. That's it. Non-monogamy is basically anything else. It's a huge umbrella term. So if you've got the couple next door that likes to go out and like have threesomes every once in a while, that moves into non-monogamy. If you've got the quad, like the four people that live in a house together and have a life together, that's non-monogamy. Anytime you're involving more than two people, it's non-monogamy. What the flavor is going to be like, it depends on what your configuration is. And let me tell you, I make it my business to keep up with all of these terms and all of the ways that it's described. And even I get like caught out of like, oh, I don't know what that means. Like, wow. And so I have to go research it and figure it out. And sometimes people will like use one term for something that I'm familiar with a different term. So basically, yeah, monogamy is you've said, I'm not going to sleep with anybody else, and I'm not going to have romantic attachment to anybody else. It's just you and me. The thing about that, starting even with that, is when you get to any sort of non-monogamous relationship, I always encourage people, and actually I encourage even monogamous people to do this. How do you define fidelity? What's faithfulness to you? Is it sex? That's the most common one. Is it romantic attachment? So like, I'm not going to take anybody else out on a date. But then we also have some things that a lot of people don't think about, like financial fidelity. Am I allowed to be spending money on friends and going out and doing stuff with other people? Do I have to talk to my partner? Social fidelity. So, for example, I'm not going to be bringing somebody else as my plus one to a wedding or to an event. You're kind of my social person. Then you've got, actually, I'm going to pull something up and look it up.
Yes.
Yeah, because I'm terrible at remembering stuff.
And while she's doing that, y'all share, because you see how good this is getting. I see a lot of you in the comments. These are terms you've never heard of,
Yeah.
or you saw it on a dating app. You didn't know what it meant. So please bring your friends and family in here, because y'all are still out here thinking polygamy and polyamory are the same thing, and they're not.
They're not. Okay, so like we've got romantic, sexual, social, financial, emotional fidelity is a big one that a lot of people don't think about. Like,
do they not? Because people say, I feel like emotional cheating. They use that
they
term.
talk about emotional cheating after somebody's done emotional cheating is the problem. So like,
Yeah.
they don't talk about it up front. They wait until somebody has been having an emotional affair with someone. Intellectual fidelity is like, do I share all of my intellectual, deep thinking kind of experiences with only my partner, or do I have that kind of attachment with friends? Sometimes with some of this, it's like, okay, I'm fine with you having that kind of intellectual or emotional connection with someone else to some degree. I just don't want it to be more than. I don't want you to be more emotionally close to your best friend, for example, or your work. We talk about work wife, work husband, all of that, where some people are like, I don't care. You go have your work wife. It's fine with me. Y'all talk about your work stuff. And then other people find that to be very threatening to their relationship. And most of the time, people don't think to talk about it until something goes sideways. So I do encourage people, like, sit down, talk about it. What are the important things for you to be faithful to? What are, I got some people that, it's television shows. They have their shows that they watch with each other, and it's like, you don't watch that with anybody else first. I get first dibs. You can go watch it again with somebody else, but we got to have that first experience. So
and that's, I'm glad you outlined it, because a lot of those things people might think are trivial or they don't matter when they do.
Yeah, and so you find yourself like, yeah, I just realized that my partner is spending 5 hours a day having really deep emotional conversations with this other person, and they don't ever really talk to me about what they're feeling or thinking. Because then you have to undo a lot of damage, as opposed to getting an understanding straight up in the beginning. Here's what we think is important.
Yeah. So under those, so kind of going back to the categories under the non-monogamy umbrella.
Yeah.
Take us from big to small.
Okay. It'll be hard to take from big to small.
Well, like umbrella to like terms underneath.
Take this to like, usually it's more like big to one group versus, there's like a bunch of groups. So
gotcha.
Polyamory, that's a lot of people, like, one people hear a lot of. I'm polyamorous. one of the central facets of polyamory is having more than one romantic attachment. It is less about the sex and more about the emotional and romantic connection with others. There are a lot of different ways that people structure polyamory. So you'll have people where, you can have, going to that question about what's a V. That's one form, one way people structure their relationship. So a V would essentially be exactly what we're talking about. So like if this is a V, I'm here, partner one is here, and partner two is here. So these are the two people that date me, and I'm what they call the hinge, because I'm right there. If it's me, partner one, partner two, and these two are dating, it forms a triangle. So you can get all kinds of constellations. I don't have enough hands to show you how it works, because it would be like, okay, here's me, partner one, partner two is dating, this person, or maybe they're dating two other people, or maybe they've got, it can get kind of big and a little messy. Within polyamory, so one, a lot of people confuse that with polygamy or polygyny. Polygamy is about marriage in addition, like some sort of legal commitment. Polygyny is the same thing. Polygamy is one man typically with multiple wives. Polygyny is one woman with multiple husbands. Let's see. Yeah, it is like a tree. You have people who, like I said early on, you'll have people who go more for polyfidelity, where it's just the three of us in our little relationship. Nobody dates outside. You have people who practice what we call solo polyamory. So they're kind of like, they live their little lives. They are the center of their constellation. And then they date other people. But the most important facet for them is their personal autonomy, is I think probably the best way to put it. You have people who, let's see, I think that kind of covers it without getting actually too spread out. The main focus of polyamory is about those multiple romantic attachments. Sometimes they don't even necessarily all include sex. There can be people who are like, gotcha, you are my queer platonic partner, which is, hey, we have a very serious attachment. We have, like, we share a life together, but I'm not sexually interested in you. So it's more about the romance. Almost to the other end of it, kind of, would be swinging. Swinging is typically, you will have a couple whose focus is mostly on making outside sexual connections. Now, you can have people who are polyamorous who are also swingers. Usually when they say that, they mean the polyamorous part is I have multiple partners that I am attached to. And also, I like to go out and sleep with a bunch of different people, or maybe just one or two people for funsies. And I don't necessarily have a romantic attachment. You also have people who are monogamous, who go and enjoy having sex with other people, either like together, or, some people, it's one partner goes out and does that, and the other one's like involved in some other way, but not necessarily sexually. Usually when people are talking about swinging, though, they're more focused on the sexual component of the relationship than on the romantic. But you can have people who do both. Yeah. And then you got like a whole bunch of stuff in the middle. You have, usually I kind of put that under the term of open relationship. That can mean anything from somebody who has a hall pass. Are you familiar with that term? you're not allowed to really sleep with anybody else. You're not allowed to form really strong attachments. Like, you can have sex with somebody else, but only once or twice. You can't start seeing them regularly.
Mm-hmm.
You have people who are like, okay, you can sleep with other people, but only when you're out of town on business. You
Mm-hmm.
have people who are like, you know, you can have a kinky partner that you do some sexy stuff with, and you do kink stuff with, but it's not romantic.
So basically, it sounds like the way you would differentiate it would be: is this a romantic connection? Is this
Yeah.
a sexual connection, or is it both?
Yeah. That's that kind of, I usually will look for, like, what's the most important part of this for you? Is it more about the sex? Is it more about the romance? Is it kind of about both? And then the other
Mm-hmm.
thing I will ask people when I'm working with them is, I describe your relationship structure and your relationship agreements, because I can't know what you are doing unless you tell me what matters to you, what's important.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And so it is. Yeah. It's like a spectrum, but also like a tree.
Yeah, it is.
Because
It's like a tree spectrumy thing.
yeah,
And
like a
I'll
tree with a rainbow on it.
yeah, sure, I'll go with that. The other thing I will say is, you've also got within polyamory, you've got different structures that center around hierarchy or non-hierarchy. So hierarchy is more of a, you and I, there's the couple, the dyad, we would call it, and then they each can have other partners, but the understanding is always that main, that pairing is most important. And so, if I'm having a problem with my main relationship, sometimes people will do what they call a veto power, where they'll say, okay, if we're having problems, I can shut this down and say no more polyamory. I personally generally advise against that, because it usually creates more problems than it solves. But if that's your structure, that's your structure. You can have all the way up to something called relationship anarchy, which is a whole nother different flavor of things, where it's much more centered around, I'm not worried about defining my relationships. I'm not worried about putting a hierarchy on it. My relationship with each person in my life is unique, individual, and I have the freedom to relate to every person in my life in whatever ways feel best to me. So, like, maybe you're my partner and we live together. Maybe you're my, what we would call a comet, and you live 150 miles away and I only see you once a month. Maybe you live across the continent, maybe you live across the world, and I only see you once a year. All right.
Cool. I mean, and I get how it seems like a much more freeing way for people to exist, to embrace that. Because I wonder how many of us who call ourselves monogamous are truly monogamous.
I usually, like, a lot of people I know who are into polyamory are very interested in personal autonomy and having the ability to choose what they want each relationship to be. And I think you're really onto something with, if you start asking yourself, well, what does monogamy mean? I think there's a lot of people out there who would find themselves to be not quite as monogamous as they might have initially assumed. Like, they're the ones that have their, this is my bestie, we cuddle on the couch. Or, hey, I go and make out with my friends on the weekends. It's not really that cut and dry.
Yeah. Or, I mean, like, because I tell, like, when I'm talking to other people who are monogamous and they're like, it sounds more like a force thing, like you said, oh, I couldn't do that because I get jealous. I've said that myself.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, have I been romantically interested in two people at the same time before?
Yeah,
Yes. Yes, I have.
yeah,
Whether I have implemented that emotion or not, that it was a natural just development of capacity that I had to
yeah.
be romantically interested in two people at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But
It
I
happens.
still label myself monogamous. So it's just like, am I truly, or are we truly monogamous? Or are we just choosing to practice monogamy because of patriarchy and religion?
Yeah, and I mean, it can be, and there's also plenty of people who are monogamous because they're just like, I don't really want to, I don't want, or they don't have, like, I get crushes on everybody all the time. I've had a crush on pretty much every single one of my friends at some point in time. That's just naturally how I work. Doesn't mean I've done anything with all of my friends, but it is one of those, like, I'm just much more like, I mean, heck, that's the reason I went into counseling, is I love people and find them fascinating. So I always like look to how are the different ways that I can connect with this new person in my life. Maybe it's a sexual interest. Most of the time it's just a, like, you're a very interesting intellectually and emotionally and mentally. You I feel very connected with you, and so I like to explore that connection.
So how would you like, since now again we're bringing awareness to this, so for to first, I want you to talk about the jealousy thing, because I've even had some of my clients who identify as poly, and um, they have struggled with jealousy as well. Like you said, I
Yeah.
mean, we're all human. We all have that,
Oh yeah.
human emotions. But how would you address somebody who maybe had this? So there's two people that may be listening in monogamy. Like, no, yeah, no, I really just don't have the capacity. Like you said, I don't have the
Yeah.
capacity. I really am monogamous because I can't. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's just how I function. But then there's people, like I said, like me, remember some times where I've had more than one interest in a person. So, like, how would you kind of speak to the groups that may be unsure?
Okay, so I was actually having a discussion earlier, um, about about jealousy and working with jealousy, and, like, it is absolutely one of my favorite things when somebody comes in and they're jealous. And here's why: jealousy sucks. Nobody likes to feel it, but jealousy, like any other emotion, is neither good nor bad. It's a feeling, and feelings are information. If I am feeling jealous, most times it is hitting a nerve for something deeper. So if I'm feeling, if I, when I've got somebody who comes in and they're like, I am struggling with jealousy, and it doesn't even have to be in romantic relationships, it can be in, like, work relationships every day. My first thing that I want to explore is, what is the nature of your jealousy? Is it, for example, insecure? I I see you and I want to be like you and I feel like I'm falling short. Okay. That tells me that you feel like there is some way in your life that you want to strive for more, improve yourself, make yourself more like the object of your jealousy. I can work with that. You know, let's work on dealing with some of your skills, figuring out what you want to do in your life, get you on the right life path. Is it envy? Is your jealousy very envy based, which would be kind of like, I want this and I don't have it, versus you who does have it and I want what you have. So that's more of an envy based thing. You're feeling like you don't have what you need. That's a different thing, whole different problem to address. Let's see if we can figure out, is there a way for you to get what you need in a way that is healthy and appropriate so that you can feel more like you are satisfied? Is it possessive? So that would be like, here's what I have, and I'm afraid you're going to take it away. I feel like if you have it, then there's not going to be any room left for me. That's more about a scarcity mindset. And that, usually with that, I'm looking at somebody who, hey, what was going on when you were a kid, for example? Did you get enough? Did you always feel like there was enough love to go around? Did you feel cared for? It's not always in childhood. It could be prior relationships. It's that whole attachment thing that we talk about. Like, do you feel safe and secure? If you don't, if you're afraid that I'm going to, that someone else is going to take away what you have, what do we do to make you feel more secure?
Mm-hmm.
And then that also goes into like the lacking kind of jealousy. So like I look over and you're clearly getting something that I need and want. How do we get everybody's needs met in a way that works for all the parties involved? So like, and a lot of it, like the easiest one to explain is time. Like time is a big one where people jealousy pops up in non-monogamous relationships, because it's like, well, you're getting 5 hours every other Sunday, and I'm only getting 3 hours once a month. Well, let's see if we can make that equal.
Mm-hmm.
Or let's ask, do you even want it to be equal?
Mm-hmm.
That's another thing that people are like, they don't always think about that. Like, I don't necessarily need or want more time. What I do want is more quality, independent, alone time with you. I want to feel like you're focused on me when I am with you. So yeah, jealousy is like a very useful thing to work with, because it often also, like I said, going back to that attachment stuff, it often touches on the cornerstone of things that people have been carrying around in their lives, with those core beliefs that we always work with. Like, I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. I'm unlovable. If we can start working on that stuff, that's where it's at. You know that.
Yep. And we do that, child. That's what we do. That's literally like the biggest thing we do with like EMDR is work on those perpetuating or intrusive thoughts that may come up from um, those core beliefs that need to be reconstructed. And we'll talk more about attachment styles with Kayla. So we're kind of going through all of this, but to take it deeper, we will talk. We will have our next live this month on attachment, so you guys can kind of put what you're hearing tonight with that to give yourself more insight on maybe what direction you might want to take in your own therapy. So yeah, so what would you say to those, like I said, those of us who may have found ourselves experiencing non-monogamous desires?
I mean, I usually look at it like is it something you really want to, do you want to explore it? Is this something that you think is important enough in your life that you want to take some time out and do that in your everyday practice? And if it is, how do we do that in the most ethical way possible? Because you will get people who have been in marriages of 5, 10, 15 years, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, I want to try non-monogamy. all right, husband, all right, wife, guess what? I'm going to go start dating other people. And I'm like, ooh, um,
That could
that
be
is not
tricky.
necessarily a great way to jump in. You
Right.
also get people who are like, relationship, two things I see with people in relationships: relationship broken, add baby. No. There's no better way to trash your relationship than add a small, very dependent individual who's going to wake you up at all hours of the day and night. But
Right.
then they'll also do relationship broken, add more partners. I will, hey, let's try opening it up because I'm not getting the kind of sex that I want, or I'm not getting the kind of romantic affection or emotional connection that I want. And I will usually be like, I am the first one to say, I get the end, like I get the theory, but that's also a great way to take every problem that you have in your existing relationship and shine a huge old light on it and make it very apparent all the different ways you're not working. So what I always encourage people to do is, one, before you open up a relationship, make sure it is strong and that y'all have good communication skills and feel comfortable with each other. And also, I think it works best when people take some time to individuate and separate themselves out. There are a lot of people who, if they've been in a long-term relationship, you get used to having your partner as your permanent plus one. Office party, of course, I'm going to be bringing my partner. Family event, bring my partner. Going to the movies, bring my partner. And then your partner goes out on a date for the first time and you're stuck at home alone, and all you're thinking about is what they're doing with somebody else while you're sitting all alone on the couch eating popcorn, watching a sad movie and crying your eyes out. And I don't know I don't know about you, but that does not sound like my idea of a good time.
Not at all.
Yeah, so you have got to have some level of independence. You've got to be able to figure out, like, hey, I like to go take myself to the movies. Personally, I love taking myself out on dates. I do that on a regular basis, regardless of what relationships I have going on. I will take myself out to dinner. I haven't gone to a movie in a long time, but like I maintain a habit of doing stuff by myself so that I can enjoy my own company.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think I'm fabulous, so it's not a problem. But if you're not
Yes.
used to it, like, especially people like really struggle with going out to dinner by themselves. Like for me, it's one of my most like pleasurable things is if I don't have anything else going on, taking myself out to lunch and having a meal by myself. I love that. But I didn't
Yep.
start out loving that. I had to teach myself. It's okay to do stuff all alone.
Yep. And it could be at first, yes, it could be kind of weird if you're not used to it, but it does get more comfortable. And once you have a real come to self with yourself and just like self, I need to, if you know that you're um more dependent on others than you might feel comfortable being, to push yourself out there and do something by yourself, you can experience a lot of freedom.
Yeah. One of my favorite
And that
things,
might be something to talk to your therapist about.
yeah, one of
Like, what
my
does that
favorite
look like?
things is like I like traveling by myself. Usually I'm the travel bug. Like I want to go somewhere different and just have different scenery. My husband is not necessarily as big of a fan. He loves travel. He's a great travel companion, but like he's not as likely to want to go somewhere else. And so if I'm getting restless, he'll just like just go. And I'm not necessarily even doing anything particularly wild. I might go to New Orleans and like eat every single delicious meal that I
Yes.
can get my hands on.
Woo! That food is
And
so
go to
good
bed
down
at
there.
8 p.m.
Man, I love that food.
I know it's been too long. I need to get back down there. Um, but yeah, traveling by myself is like a wonderful pleasure for me. I enjoy doing things with other people. I really, really do. But I value the time that I have and the relationship I have with myself as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Danielle said you gotta be scrum for that. You don't gotta start there. You can start with smaller things, like
Yeah.
Kristen was talking about taking yourself to dinner or lunch or movies. You know, or doing a staycation. Shoot, you could. They got some nice properties. If you're, I can just speak for the Birmingham area that you could just go on Airbnb or Booking.com and get
Mhm.
you a night somewhere.
Yeah, and they've got a lot of things that are centered around like booking last minute hotels. So they sell up, you can get some cheap stuff. And as far as the like, one of the other things that I also, oh yeah, the poly seeing other people you got to be strong for. I mean,
Oh yeah.
yeah, I don't, I mean, I definitely think that I have a certain strength about me, but I also really like to emphasize how much I am also just another human being who is like, I fall apart. I get jealous. I have my own little things. I have to work at it. It is not oh, this is no big deal. And I just, flit along and don't care at all.
And I can say from a monogamous perspective, because I kind of feel you, Daniela, that like again, I've been the one to say I don't know. It's not like because I don't have anything against non-monogamy. Like I don't have any sort of like social or moral like, oh, you should not. I don't have that. But to share with someone else something that I have to feel like I have enough of it to share.
Yeah.
So that when I started to really analyze my own relational capacity and the capacity I would want to allow a partner to have their own independence, why would I be like Kristen was talking about? Where would the source of that jealousy come from? So it does take a lot of to uh, integrate, accept, or practice, because um currently I'm with somebody who is polyamorous, but I do not identify. And I'm like, how would that look for me for them to have another partner? And then once I started really understanding
Hmm.
what it meant, it's like, well, if I'm not lacking in our relationship, if our relationship is solid and sound, and they have capacity for someone else to give them, even I would want them to be
Yeah.
happy and
Yeah.
have
And that's,
that, as long as it doesn't take from me. So I think that was my thing with it. It
mhm.
wasn't that I wouldn't want them to have somebody, period. It's like I would want to be sure that
You're taking care.
our
Yeah.
relationship is taken care of.
Fair. And, that's another thing that's like really important to note. Our capacity also fluctuates over time. When I was in grad school, I barely had enough time for myself. I still identified as polyamorous because for me personally, it feels more like part of who I am rather than what I do. But I wasn't dating nobody because I mostly just wanted to go to bed when I was done with my day. So, I had my husband, my partner at the time, now husband, and like that was enough. And I did not really have the time or mental energy to do anything much more than that. Now, different story. My life looks very different, and I am also the kind of person where for relation again, look at my job. It's all about relational understanding. That is one of the things that really matters to me. So,
Yeah. I think it's a good way to to do some introspecting if you like encounter the option of other
yeah.
relationships identities or options that may be different from your own. It allows you, instead of, because I know maybe some I've heard, and I'm not saying you, Danielle, I'm just saying generally us as humans, sometimes our initial tendency when we don't understand something is just to reject it, or if social constructs has us thinking in this box, we just reject it. But as we're all kind of, evolving as a human race, there's a lot more gray than there is black and white, just strictly black and white. There's very little of that and a lot of gray and a lot of fluidity, especially with sexuality. And so, just what does it say about me if I feel something icky? And if it's not me, then what does it maybe say about my boundaries?
Right. What's it bringing up? And again, going all the way back to that, like, emotions are neither good or bad. Emotions are information. And I am such a nerd. I love information. Give me all the information. Give me the good information. Give me the bad information. That's one of the things I tell people when they're figuring out how to have good, healthy relationships in general, both romantic and friendship and work and everything, is like, what are your feelings telling you? Do you leave that interaction drained? Do you leave that interaction feeling energized? When you spend time with that person, do you walk away going like, oh, I'm exhausted and I feel like I got nothing left to give? Or do you walk away going like, I feel heard and loved and I feel like this is a life-giving experience? It's information.
Yeah. So what, so like when the issue is relational dynamics, as it relates to ethical non-monogamy, how does that, like for a couple, like say for me, and like you've told me before, it's not that uncommon for someone who identifies polyamorous to date and be with someone who identifies as monogamous. My partner has also told me the same thing. That's not uncommon. But when issues come up there, what some of the more common issues that come up there, how in therapy does resolve kind of happen?
Okay, so one, if it depends on if I'm working with a couple versus an individual. Like, if I'm working with a couple, I first and foremost check their communication skills and their level of communication. In order to do polyamory or any sort of open relationship, you have got to be into communicating. You've got to talk about stuff. You cannot expect somebody to read your mind, and if you don't talk about it, it's going to blow up on a random Tuesday and it's bad. Then I like to explore boundaries. What are our boundaries? How do we set them? How do we enforce them? And I usually also go into a boundaries versus rules discussion, because a lot of people try to set up a lot of rules around it. And you can do that, but typically, I was saying this earlier to my husband, I was like, it is not possible to come up with a rule for every single situation that you're going to encounter. So if you have boundaries, and the difference is rules is I'm going to tell you what to do, what you can and cannot do. You can't kiss this other person. Or the one that I always see that like goes haywire is you have to let me know before you do anything with somebody else. And that sounds great in theory, but then you go have a date with somebody and it's the end of the night and you're like, it's wonderful and I want to lean in for a kiss and hold on, I got to go call my partner and make sure that it's okay. Like,
it's not the most practical.
Nobody's going to do that. Or like if they do, if you do that, then it's like people start picking rules apart. Like, well, I just kissed him, so I didn't have to notify you before. Boundaries are much more about what you will and will not tolerate in a relationship, the way that you're treated. So boundaries are things like, I cannot stay in a relationship with someone who does not tell me the truth about their sexual health and risk factors.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you are engaging in something that I consider unsafe, I'm not going to have sex with you anymore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because you can
Which is fair.
control, yeah, you can control what you do much more easily than you can control what somebody else does.
Boundaries work a lot better if it's your how
Yeah.
you're gonna how you're gonna move versus how you want them to
To
move.
move. Yeah, and the consequence, that's the other thing, is like the consequences part of it. If you have a bunch of boundaries that you're not willing to actually uphold, you don't have boundaries. You got to be willing to follow through. And that means, so like, communication first, because you can't really come sort this out without the communication. And then the boundaries part is pretty much right alongside of that, is like, how do you want somebody to treat you, and what are you going to do if they don't do that?
Oh, yep, yep. So, you know, take these things in, digest them, think through them, talk to your own personal therapist about them, everyone, because again, it's important at the root of all of this to know yourself
Mm-hmm.
and be comfortable with who you are, um, regardless of that what that looks like. And that may be where some people have to start before they can even explore any type of relationship, romantic relationship dynamic, um, to know what they are and aren't comfortable with based on who they know that they are and who they are okay with being.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, this has been super great, Kristen. Lots of information. I know I learned a lot. Um, but do you have any closing remarks that you might like to give to the audience?
Oh, I think it's mostly, it would just be keep an open mind. I like hearing like Danielle saying like it's opened your mind more. The other thing is like, it's okay if it's not for you. It's not, if you can't do polyamory, or if you don't like that relationship style, I strongly advise you to not go for it. But for those of us who are doing that, um, if I could get people to just be a little bit more open to asking questions rather than making assumptions. The
Mm-hmm.
number of times that I've had people assume that my polyamory like is one kind of way, all about sex, all about like having 20 million partners and stuff. It's like, that's not what it's about. For somebody else it might be, and that's fine too. Like, each their own, but
Ethical non monogamy is not a monolith,
it absolutely is not.
even within like a sector of it, even within like polyamory. Like
Yeah.
Kristen was saying, the constellation can grow out or different shapes.
Yep. And usually the people who are practicing some form of ethical non-monogamy, we think about it a lot, often. I don't just go like, oh, hey, fun times. Like, not everybody. Believe me, there are people out there who are just jumping in and not thinking about it. But for a lot of us, this is a very considered, very important part of our identity. And it's a lot more nuanced than just, hey, I want 20 boyfriends, which
Mm-hmm.
sounds exhausting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. So not a monolith, communication and boundaries and know yourself
Yeah.
is the moral of the story.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Awesome.
That's pretty much it.
Well, thank you so much, Kristen. I won't keep you too long. Thank you so much. We
Thank you.
enjoyed it.
All
And
right.
I'm sure we're going to see you back soon.
I expect we will.
All
But
right. Have a good
it's my
one.
bedtime now. I'm old, so
Have a good one.
you too. Bye.
Bye. I really hope it was helpful to y'all to kind of, again, because I be hearing some of us monogamous people saying some real ignorant things. And I used to be one of them. I'm not going to tell you I'm not, that I wasn't. I had said some things out of lack of understanding, but because I developed the understanding and actually, like Danielle said, took it in and opened my mind and didn't allow myself to be limited by my own biases and social constructs, I have a very different view. Very different view. Very different view, and I've learned about a lot about myself, even if that is not how I identify. That I've still learned a lot about myself, and that could be with anybody. If you're white and you educate yourself on Black people, you'll learn a lot about yourself, or like your interactions with Black people. If you're heterosexual and you decide to educate and open your mind to the understanding of homosexuality, not you being homosexual, but just understanding homosexual individuals, then you'll learn a lot about yourself. Not necessarily that you're homosexual, but hey, these are the issues that I have because of this, you know? So learning new things helps you learn about yourself, and maybe where you may where there may be barriers to your own personal growth. Not meaning that you have to identify. That's, people get personal growth sometimes when we're talking about these type of things. Growth and coming into that identity are two different things. Two different things. You know, like I said, I have really developed my own understanding from doing, research, my own research, and just listening. Doing research and listening is a good way to learn. Okay. And not making assumptions, just asking questions and being genuine about that. And like I said, I've learned more about myself than I have about what others do and don't do, or what they should and shouldn't do. So, yes, if you take knowledge from that angle, you'll go a lot further. And I have not forgot y'all. Don't you even worry. And if y'all have questions, y'all can put it in the comments, or you can reach out to us. Let me give you our contact information in case you want to ask me or Kristen, or schedule a session. Any of that. Here's that information, and you can simply just take a screenshot of the page, and that's our business card. Simple. Don't got to do a lot. Don't have a QR code to scan. You could click that and text that number, or shoot that image to somebody in a text or DM so they can reach out to us if they need it. And that's how we'll do that thing. Okay. Let's see. You are most welcome. I'm glad you learned a lot. I enjoyed doing that topic. And like I said, we're going to expand on it. We're going to expand on that. And Kayla's going to bring in attachment styles, and we're going to break those down so you can integrate what you heard from Kristen, learn from Kristen, with your attachment style, what you'll hear and learn from Kayla. So definitely, we try to give y'all stuff you can use. Let me, because if you don't know, you want to text live. If you don't know, you most definitely want to text the word live to that number on the screen, LIVE. So you will know next time, because guess what? Tonight is a Cash App giveaway. So we're going to be doing that. And we're going to stop with Sharon. We'll start with Sharon. You are most welcome. Thank y'all for your support. Yes, listen, learn and listen. Yes, the best you can. I do that when I work too. Not when I'm in session, but when I'm doing other work, I listen and learn. I like to learn from others and get other perspectives. Yes. All right. So we're going to start it. Remember, the way this works, I'm going to say your name and your number twice. Okay? Your name, your number twice. And so you're going to have to keep up with your number because I'm just keeping up with how many numbers I have. All right? So let's do it like that. Let's do it like that. And so let's get started. So Sharon Gray is number 1. Sharon Gray is number 1. I'm looking at Danielle's comments. Ava Green is number 2. Ava Green is number 2. Antoinette Danielle is number 3. Antoinette Danielle is number 3. Toya Betts is number 4. Toya Betts is number 4. Uh-oh. Chloe Love is number 5. Chloe Love is number 5. I hope you learned. Amara said this is my first time hearing a lot of these terms. I hope it was helpful. I know it was the first time for a lot of people. All right. Tanea Keller is number 6. Tanea Keller is number 6. Alexis Carl is number 7. Alexis Carl is number 7. Uh-oh. Tiffany Tarver is number 8. Tiffany Tarver is number 8. Nikki Leilani is number 9. Nikki Leilani is number 9. Lex is number 10. Lex is number 10. Magnolia Marchant is number 11. Magnolia Marchant is number 11. Rob TR is number 12. Rob TR is number 12. Amaris Samuel is number 13. Amaris Samuel is number 13. And Danielle Winston is number 14. Danielle Winston is number 14. So we got 14 tonight. But everybody not in here. So you also have to be present to win. So let's get everything set up. Maybe they'll come, maybe they won't. But they might. I hated it. They miss it. Who it's happened? I've seen it happen. It's broke my heart. I'm like, dang. Come on. All right, I'm like, shoot, I hate that. And it'd be a night where I'm feeling real generous and I've had to spin again. Ooh, it break my heart. So make sure you have shared publicly. Okay? Make sure you share it publicly because I've also seen that happen where it wasn't shared. It broke my heart. Ooh, broke my heart. I had to spin again, man. All right, so let me see. All right, new tab. Perfect view. Okay, so we're going to do the random. Y'all know I start from the beginning. Random number wheel generator. Let's see. Let's just pick this one. All right, so the minimum. Oh, here we go. So y'all can see. The minimum is 1. The maximum is 14. All right, I'm getting ready to spin and do the drum roll. Let's see what we got. What we got? What we got? What we got? Oh my gosh, I felt it. I felt it. I was like, it's going to be 14. I just don't know. I felt it in my gut. I don't know. I knew it was going to be 14. Woo! Woo! Who is that? Who did I say? I just said who 14 was. Danielle? Danielle! Wow! Congratulations! Yeah! Absolutely. Let's get you sent. Let's get your money sent. I'm going to do 200 tonight. I think I'm going to do 200. That's what I think I'm going to do. Because I just felt that. I was like, it's going to be 14. I don't know how I knew. And y'all saw, I entered it. I didn't do nothing but press spin, but I just had felt it. And it had came to pass. Maybe did I manifest it? Maybe I manifested the winner. I might have, shoot, because I'm telling you, I was like, I bet you it's gonna be Danielle. I bet you it's gonna. I don't know. I just had this inkling. But let me send it. Congratulations. Go ahead and drop your Well, actually, I can scroll back up to the top of the screen. Woo-hoo-hoo! All right, pay. Let's see. Let's go back up to the top so I make sure I send it to the right person. Wait a minute. Uh-oh. I'm just clicking around. I don't even know what I'm clicking on. All right. Let me see. DM. Okay. DMW. Yes. Okay, here it is. Yes, congratulations. Wait. I'm typing congratulations in the wrong part. Congratulations from Yellowbird Counseling with the 3 yellow hearts. And then I got to show y'all I sent it. So I know it ain't no capping in these streets. Yes. Congratulations. Congratulations. Oh, for those of y'all in here, I got you can therapy because y'all know how they got you can have Jesus in therapy. I got you can have chairs in therapy. Definitely. It's hitting. That shirt is made. Yeah, you're so welcome, Danielle. So y'all gonna have to hit me up. I'm gonna have the shirt on so y'all can take a look, but you can definitely have chairs in therapy. What is it? F. Oh. I got it. I can't wait to show it to y'all. I got you can have chairs in therapy. Shrug. If around and find out. All right. So, all right, y'all. Thank y'all so much. Thank y'all for your participation. Please share. Thank you for those of you on the replay. If you haven't already, please share so we can get the word out and break the stigma surrounding mental health and wellness. And I will see y'all next week. Bye.